host, Nzube, a PhD candidate at Kennesaw State University here in the US. And like everyone that you hear on this show, I use scholarships to move here from Nigeria. Each episode, we bring you conversations with Africans who have walked this path. I'm talking about the exact scholarships that they applied for, how they crafted winning applications, and the mistakes they had to avoid. If you're thinking about studying abroad, but you don't know where to start, then you're in the right place. So subscribe if you haven't already to get notified whenever we drop a new episode. Today's guest is Debbie Oyebanji. She's a Mastercard Scholar to UBC, University of British Columbia, which is one of the top 3 schools in Canada, actually. And she's currently a senior economist to the University of the government of British Columbia. Debbie, you're welcome to the show.
Hi, Nzube. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure being here.
Yeah, you're welcome. So can you briefly introduce yourself for those that haven't met you before, your name, what you're currently doing, where you are in Canada, and how long have you been there?
Sure. My name is Debbie Oyebanji. I am an economist with the provincial government here in beautiful British Columbia. It's called beautiful because it's actually such a beautiful province. It's on the west coast of Canada, very close to the state of Washington and Seattle. And in my role with the government, I work on rural policy and economic development. I moved to Canada in 2017 via the fully funded Mastercard Foundation scholarship, my master's in resource economics at the University of British Columbia, like you mentioned. And so far, I think I have been here for about 8 years now.
So that's some good time.
I know. It's been so long, and it has been an incredible journey of growth, of learning, of many opportunities, and I'm just really grateful to be here.
Okay. So Mastercard is one of the is like the gold standard of a fully funded scholarship. So many benefits that come along with it, which we'll get to. But can you walk us through how you even found out about the Mastercard scholarship in the first place?
That's such a good question. So I was in my service here, NYSC, like we all call it, and I was sure I was not going to do my master's in Nigeria, right? So I started applying to a couple of different schools. Some I would get partial funding, some I got no funding at all. But then I still knew I had to find like proper full funding. And then my fiance at the time, now my husband, was actually going through the UBC website for something else entirely. I think he was looking for a fellowship for himself. He was going through the website and then he stumbled on Mastercard Foundation scholarship link. Mind you, this was in 2017, right? Mastercard was not popular at
Okay.
the,
Yeah.
yeah, at the time. And when he sent it to me, I read everything that he covered and it sounded so good to be true. I was like, this is probably a scam or. But then the optimist in me, I'm someone who sees like the positive in everything. I'm someone who believes nothing is impossible. Like there's nothing that you can literally not do. The optimist in me said the only way you can actually know if this is real is by putting in an application,
All right.
especially when you don't get to pay for the application fee. It's not like they're asking you to bring money, right? And this is a credible university website and it's on there. So yeah, I got it from him and I applied. And I would normally say that people forget that university websites themselves are good places to get scholarship links.
Right. Actually, a very good gold mine. A lot of scholarship opportunities, especially even in the US. You'll find them a lot on the university's website. We're getting some comments. Some people are saying that they are hardly hearing you, that they can't hear you very well. Um, Anyways, let's move on. Still talking about Mastercard. So it's been a while. but we are still curious to know the application process. So, what's the application process like? Say I want to be a Mastercard scholar. How do I start?
So Mastercard Scholarship, I'm now talking louder. So let me know if you can hear me, okay? Because I feel like it's important for you guys to hear me. That's why you're here, right? I'm going to try to shout. Hopefully, you can hear me. Mastercard is different from other scholarships that way because it has like a couple of different stages, and I will take time to walk you through those stages right now because I believe that the more detailed, the more better for the audience and everybody who actually wants to take a step. So there are about 5 stages or 6 stages, and I'll quickly run through them. The first stage is that you need to decide your program of interest from the list on the website. So again, Mastercard is different from other scholarships in the sense that they don't fund the same programs in the same schools.
Mm,
Um, they partner with different schools, and then they strategically pick programs in different schools that they fund. And they don't fund every master program in a school, for example. So the first stage is going on their websites to check what programs are funded in that school that you are applying for and figuring out what is your program of interest. How can you figure this out? Look at your background, look at your past experiences, and look at what you're actually interested doing and find a program that aligns. So once you find that at UBC, the school we're talking about, they last year, and it changes every year as well. That's the other thing.
okay.
You cannot use the list from 3 years ago for this year's application. It changes every year. I think last year they funded Faculty of Science, which is Master of Data Science, and programs in the Faculty of Forestry, Sustainable Forestry Management, MSc Forestry, Faculty of Land and Food Systems, Master of Food Science, Masters of Resource Economics, which is what I did. And I think that's just the three programs that they fund at UBC. So first, you need to decide what the program
Sorry,
of.
I
Oh
want
yeah,
to show my screen of the scholarship so that our viewers can see what it actually looks like. So this is the UBC page of the Mastercard Foundation Scholars, and it's wonderful that you had all these programs in your mind, like in your head. It was so beautiful. So as you said, data science, and
yeah.
then there are several others here: food science, sustainable forest development. Okay, please go ahead.
Yes, so those are the programs that they fund, and then you just need to go in and see which one aligns with my interest, experience, and whatnot, and pick one. Once you're done with that, the next stage is to submit an expression of interest. And for all the stages, they all have different deadlines. And so you need to be careful to be aware of the deadline so you're not missing anyone. And the expression of interest is very simple. Basically, you're filling a form that has your name, your age, your class of degree, and that way you would have to upload your transcript. And this transcript is just your student copy. It doesn't have to be like the official school transcript. The one you were given, either a soft copy that that was sent to you or that you scanned, your student copy of your transcript, and something to prove your nationality. So that would be an international passport, as well as your chosen program of interest. And the reason they're asking for those things is because they need to be able to filter people who do not qualify. This stage wasn't there before, so that way everybody has access to just apply to the scholarship. But now they're trying to streamline things because for Mastercard you need to be under 32, right? There's an age limit. So also you fill in your date of birth. There's no.
35,
What did you say?
35, 35 years.
35. You
Oh, network. Oh wow. So I guess it's having. Okay. Welcome
can you
back.
hear me?
Network. Yes, yes, yes. We can hear you.
What was the last thing you heard?
The age of 35 years and younger.
Okay. And then the next stage is that you have to be, the next thing is that people who are found eligible from submitting that expression of interest are then invited to submit an application for the Mastercard program. And basically, you're filling an application form, you're submitting personal statements. And again, the personal statements for Mastercard is different from other scholarships because you're being asked 4 to 5 questions,
Mm.
300 words max, 300 to 400 words max, And these questions, I think the first question is based on a test of your resiliency. So they will tell you to tell them about a time that you went through something that was not comfortable and now you overcame that. So that's resiliency. The next question would be question around your leadership, community service. How have you tell us about something that you've done in your community and how that created a transformation? Then there's another question about your academic qualifications, and then another question about the Mastercard. Why are you applying? So the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship, the whole goal, the whole mission of the Mastercard Foundation is to be able to sponsor young adults in African countries who are not able to sponsor themselves, right? So
Yeah.
that's why you need to show some sort of financial need. If you don't have a financial need, then Mastercard is not for you. But if you have a financial need, you cannot fund yourself for a master's program, then Mastercard is for you. So they also want you to tell them, what that was and what that is in that essay. So that's the personal statements. The other pieces of that next stage of the application is your CV. People would often sometimes submit a resume instead of an academic CV. And what is like, no, don't do that. Use an academic CV. If you're applying for Mastercard Foundation Scholarship, an academic CV is what you want to be submitting, and 2 reference letters. And this is also different in that your references are not the ones who will fill it in and send it to Mastercard themselves. No, you
Mm.
would let them write a letter, collect the letters, and attach the letters to your application. I think that's all on that stage. And then the next stage is you get an invite to apply to your UBC faculty. And for this one, you have to write a statement of purpose, about 500 words. Why did you choose that program? How can that program help you to fulfill your long-term goals? 500 words. And then you submit 2 to 3 reference letters as well. And for this ones, your references will get a link. They will fill in that link and send it directly to the school. And then lastly, you have the interviews. And then the offer gets extended in January, February of the following year.
Okay. So first of all, I apply for the scholarship before I apply to the university.
Yes, the scholarship would also not be the one to send you the link to apply to the university.
Okay. So it's more like if I've gotten the scholarship already, when they're sending me the link, it means I've been approved to get to that stage, right? They don't send.
Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. It's a whole process. It's one process, but divided into different bits. And I think the other reason for that is if the scholarship feels that again, you're not eligible for that program by just reviewing your essays, they would not bother you by sending you the application link, right? But I feel like people who get the application link to the UBC faculty just means that you meet the basic requirements
Okay.
for the
Okay.
faculty, and then you get invited to apply to the faculty.
Does Mastercard only fund masters? Are there like PhD programs that they fund or just masters?
They don't fund PhD programs, but they fund bachelors. And people don't know.
Wow.
People don't know that they fund bachelor's degree. At UBC, we probably have over 100 undergrad scholars right now from
Hmm.
Nigeria, Ghana. I know these guys, I feel like these guys are the most, I don't know, most beneficiaries, if there's any word like that, because they literally come in young after high school using their not NYSC, YX certificates and whatnot. And then
Yeah.
they get that robust, imagine being in that system for 4 years.
My
Imagine
God.
having that kind of support, professional development, networking skills for 4 years. They come out and they end up doing amazing things. Those guys, oh my God. So yes, they fund bachelors as well. And you can find everything on the Mastercard General page. So there is a Mastercard General page where all the schools that they are collaborating with is being listed. You can filter by class of degree. You can filter by undergrad or postgrad. You can also filter by country. Yeah, this is the page. If you go out to apply,
Okay. How to apply? Is it how to apply?
yeah, you should see partnering um, countries.
Let me just go down to our programs. Okay, it's not here. All right. I guess it should be the page. How to apply?
Yeah, go down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So level of study undergraduate. Um. Oh wow. Okay. So all of these universities in all these countries. Okay.
Yeah. And for undergrad programs, at least at UBC, they fund more programs, engineering, science.
Okay.
If
But I'm
you want
not
to filter
seeing
by
UBC here though
oh,
for. I'm not seeing UBC here for undergraduate.
and that's because that's the other thing about Mastercard. Mastercard has a contract of a number of years in different schools.
Okay.
I think they
Okay.
signed
For
10 years
graduate.
by school. Actually, the contract for UBC for even masters was done 3 years ago, but then they renewed it for another 10 years. And that's why I think we're in the second year of the renewal. So this is the 12th year at UBC.
Okay.
And so right now the contract for undergrad has elapsed. But we are
Hmm.
hoping that next year there'll be a renewal as well, and then they could come back for another 10 years for undergrad.
Okay. I just want to give some clarity as to you mentioned submitting a CV as opposed to a resume. So for those that don't know the difference, a resume is usually concise, 1 or 2 pages, and is more tailored towards a job application. That's majorly why we use resumes. But an academic CV has like your academic honors and awards, teaching or research experience if you had any. So it's more tailored towards an academic program. All right. So Debbie, say I have big dreams. I want to benefit from this Mastercard scholarship. How do I, and I meet the eligibility, so I'm under 35, and maybe I want to study masters in data science, one of the programs there. Is that enough for me to get it? Is that enough for me to win the scholarship?
Also, you're asking how competitive it is. No, that's not enough. There are a couple of other things that you need to show. First off, for scholarships, it's always good to understand the mission of that scholarship.
Mm,
What are their goals? What are they trying to do? Because that will give you an insight into what kind of skills, experience they are looking for in their candidates. Mastercard, as opposed to Chevening, or what's the other Chevening one?
Commonwealth.
Commonwealth, yeah. Commonwealth and Chevening, I feel like they're very focused on academic excellence. You have to be a first class. You have to be the best in your class and whatnot. Mastercard, as against that, is focused on leadership, community service.
Okay.
Um, and that is why you need to show community service a lot in your application. You need to show, because Mastercard basically is trying to raise young leaders in Africa, who are then able, they're trying to transform the continent, right? Who are
Mm,
then able to give back. And that's why once you open the Mastercard page, you will see that you should be able to give back to your country or community in some sort of way. So they are looking for people who they could train, and then in turn there would be like a chain of reaction. In turn, you then go back and give back. And how would they know you would eventually be able to give back if you have been giving back even before you got the scholarship, right? If you have
okay.
it in you, if you have that passion for your community, for your environment, if you're someone who wants to see social change, social impact, and all of that. And that is why I feel like you need to have strong social service, strong community service experience to get Mastercard scholarship. As well, you need to be able to have show academic excellence, because there's so many people who come into universities and they're like, oh my God, it's so rigorous. I cannot cope with this. And that's it. And I think that's the question about resilience. How resilient are you? So yes, community service, leadership, academic excellence. Yeah, those are like the basics. You need to show that in your application.
Is there an obligation for you to, you spoke about giving back, but is there an obligation for you to return back to the country when you are done with the studies?
That's a good question. And I feel like people most times get it confused. So Mastercard wants you to give back to Africa. Not necessarily you have to relocate to give him back. And the way they had explained this to us is sometimes for you to be able to effectively give back to a community, you need to stay, to be
Mm,
trained and well equipped to be able to
mm,
do that work. And that
mm,
is why MasterCard is not just only focused on you getting a degree. They have two missions or visions for you as a scholar. You need to get quality higher education, and at the same time, you need to be integrated into meaningful work. So they also support you into that integration into meaningful work via networking opportunities, via career fairs. We do a whole lot of that while you're a scholar in school. So you're in school and then they're still organizing these other events to equip you such that when you're done, you're able to integrate into the work environment. So if they want you to literally be done and move back, they wouldn't be doing that, right? So they are focused on equipping you such that you're well, it's easy to just be done with the master's program and go back home and be like, yeah, I want to do it. But then all you've gotten is just the academic experience. You've not gotten the workplace industry
right,
experience.
right.
You
You
begin
know,
to flop.
yeah.
Yeah. And so you begin to flop when you're back home. You don't even know what you're doing because all you've gotten is, the theory.
Right.
The practical is not there. So they expect that you give back, and so many people have done it in different ways. So many
Mm.
people are here. I am now a Canadian citizen, right? So
Congratulations.
thank you. So many people are still here and they are still doing amazing back at home from the experiences, the skills that they've gotten, from the industry, social capital kind of work and all of that. So you don't have to move back in person, right? But you have to give back to your community.
And there's also this philosophy of you can't pour from an empty cup.
Mm.
So you're really like training yourself after you've gotten the degree, now getting the experience so that you are in a better position to actually help and impact and do all of those things. Okay, so let's talk about your application now. What do you think made your application to stand out? Now, this is very competitive Mastercard.
Mm.
So, what made you think?
First thing was my community service. And the way my community service was different was that I tracked my achievements while I was doing it. I'm a very intentional person. I don't just do things for the sake of doing it. Again, remember I said I knew I was not going to do my master's in Nigeria, right? But I did not know how. But I knew I had to, one, I wasn't even doing community service for scholarship's sake. That's the other thing. I was doing community service because I was indeed passionate about the work that I was doing.
Okay.
I started off from school itself. I was part of a few organizations at the University of Ibadan where
Mm,
we would go to secondary schools and just talk to them about I was studying agricultural economics. So
okay.
we were speaking to secondary school students about how to there was the interest in agriculture and farming, as you probably already know, was dwindling down in the younger generation. So
Yes.
yeah, we're teaching them about sustainable agricultural practices. And as you as a young person could make money from agriculture. And you
Wow.
don't necessarily need to be on the farm to be farming and whatnot.
A lot
Because
of them thinking, do I have to be a farmer?
exactly. Because as an agricultural economics, I know like different sources of that you can make farm agricultural income, right? So we'll go to university, especially people who have that passion, and then they don't want to be associated with the crude,
Mm,
raw on the farm sort of process. So would normally go, would do that. Would also speak to girls about just girl empowerment, how important the girl child education was. And
mm.
then I remembered when I started my NYSC as well. And for all of those experiences, I was writing my achievements down with metrics.
Wow.
Spoke to this number of girls. So when I wanted to write my essays, it was easy for me to put my essays together because I had the metrics. I didn't just know them off off head. Is that even a word? Offhand. I knew them by writing them down. I was able to refer to something and refer to them. So that was one experience. The other one was everybody has access to this actually. The NYSC CDS. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I was part of the Agro Allied Community Service.
So the principles that Debbie is sharing with us today, they are very applicable for Mastercard, the Mastercard scholarship itself. Um, UBC's one is currently not open, but there are several others that are open. Cambridge, UC Berkeley, which is here in the US, and then University of Oxford, Carnegie Mellon University Africa. So these six are still open for masters. And if you understand their vision, which is what Debbie is really nailing on, of improving Africa, you having some form of initiative of change that you are driving. So you understand that vision, you are able to position yourself to win any one of these scholarships. Yes, because I know for a lot of us, we are more interested in actually getting the scholarships, moving, having more career development, as opposed to like the particular school that we're going to go to. Like it has to be UBC or as far as we get any opportunity, we're ready to move. So she's sharing with us the mindset really behind being a Mastercard scholar. Okay, so Debbie, please proceed.
So apologies again. So basically, you need to be able to track those experiences and be able to speak to them. So I took those experiences. I got the Mastercard Foundation scholarship during my NYSC. So that meant that I was only able to speak to what I did during my bachelor's and during the NYSC. I did not have any gap here where, oh, I then put in myself focusing on just volunteer experience. It was something that I had been doing along the line, right?
Mm.
So those 2 or 3 volunteer experiences with metrics. And the other thing is it's very possible for you to have done amazing things during your volunteer experience or for community service and not be able to say them the right way.
Right, that's where storytelling comes in now.
Yeah, storytelling comes in. And I'll break it down to just 3 tips or 3 ways you can, talk about it. Talk about what was happening before you started to do whatever you were doing. Then move into what you did and eventually move into what changed. So if
Okay.
you break it down into 3 beats that way, is easy for you to then story tell the right way. And when you're talking about what changed, use numbers, use metrics, percentage increase, decrease, and all of that. So that way they are able to see how much of an impact you made in that community or in that environment.
Okay. Okay. So you leverage a lot of your community service and even your NYSC. One of the interesting things about this NYSC thing too is a couple of us get posted to, and if you are not a Nigerian, NYSC is National Youth Service Corps, 1 year mandatory experience where you serve the country in a particular capacity. In Ghana, it's called National Service. They have their own equivalent there. So some people get posted to universities or to secondary schools and they are teaching, and they don't really know it's a blessing, because when you want to apply for traditional scholarships now, not the Mastercard and all, so maybe a scholarship hosted by a program, and you want to be a teaching assistantship, that teaching experience that you have is a good thing to show that, oh, I've taught in the past. And so, okay, wow, you have the skills. It means we don't need to necessarily train you again to become a teacher. I know. So Mastercard, what are the benefits? What did you enjoy from being a Mastercard scholar?
Think of everything you need to be a student. Think of everything you need to be successful as a student, starting from the application fee waiver that you get because you can't even fund the school yourself, and then that way you can fund the application fee. The application fee waiver to, or now you have been selected for the scholarship, you need to apply for visa. You need to go to the VHS office in Lagos, to your transportation fee to the VHS office, to every,
Whoa,
yeah, every,
local transportation?
yep. Some people don't even have a passport, or there was somebody that did not have a passport at the time, or their passport expired and they needed to renew it, and Mastercard paid for the renewal, right?
Whoa.
To all the photocopies that you're doing at that time, we'll do lots of photocopies, right? The passport photograph that you take, everything you spend in that office, basically, to your flight tickets, they would book your flights down to wherever you're going. So they booked my flight down to UBC. You're getting to UBC, someone is picking you up at the airport. They're taking you to your room that is already furnished with
Whoa.
your blankets, your table. So accommodation is included, feeding is included. You pay for your feeding. They put us in a residence where they were giving us breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And on
Hmm.
top of that, Mastercard was still giving me stipends per term.
Wait. So this residence, you were in this residence throughout your program,
Yes, I was there throughout my program. Yeah.
and you were still getting monthly stipend.
Yep. And
Whoa.
I love it that they would put all Mastercard scholars in the same residence. So that way,
Okay. Okay.
like community, you have that community there. And those residences themselves, even as a community that you can also be a part of in the university. And always not just the, sometimes residences differ from residences, right? The
Hmm.
top residence in whatever school that you are, that's where Mastercard will put you. So residency, accommodation, feeding, monthly stipends. So that monthly stipend, you're supposed to use it for if you need a laptop, a phone,
Hmm.
winter jackets, clothes, whatever you want to use it for. Down to there was a year that I think that was during COVID, that when scholars were graduating, Mastercard gave them money to integrate, just
Hmm.
because
Wow.
the whole industry or career job market was weird. They understood that a whole lot was going on and they wouldn't be able to get jobs immediately. So they gave them money to settle in. Those guys were actually very blessed.
So you mean by integrate, you mean for them to have like a leadway before they get a job?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. But they weren't doing that every year. But because that year was COVID year, people weren't getting jobs. They
Okay.
did that. So all of this to say Mastercard covers everything. You don't need, I did not come to UBC. I made that video and I was saying I did not come to UBC with a dime, and that's true. Not one naira.
Hmm.
We covered everything. So Mastercard is that full package scholarship that pays for every little thing you might think of.
Let's talk about your visa interview experience. Sorry, your visa experience, not visa interview. How, because it's not US, it's Canada. So you guys don't usually have an interview at the visa stage.
Yeah.
What was the process like?
Things have now changed in Canada with like new policies and whatnot. But when I was applying, it was basically easy. And the scholarship played a huge role in that. At that time, once MasterCard or IRCC, as we call them, see your application and then you have a fully funded scholarship, it's almost like a automatic approval, right? It was very fast. My study permit came in very fast as well. I just made sure I filled everything I'm supposed to fill in. And Mastercard also has immigration agents that work for the school that they will link you up with as you're doing your visa application. Those guys are a huge support system because they will go through your application and make sure you're not missing anything, you are not, leaving anything out, and you're submitting a solid application. So I did my application, send it off to her, and then she reviewed and I submitted, and I got approved not far long after. So very, very straightforward application without all those as well. But that being said, I understand that Canada has now moved to a place where, immigration is a little bit different. And I've heard stories of scholars, they eventually get the visa, right? But I've had stories of scholars that had some delay. So that way they maybe one per cohort.
Okay.
That way that scholar would have to start off a little bit later than every other person. But that being said, Mastercard still makes sure that they provide that support. So that's the other thing. Mastercard also provides like academic support, if I can put it that way. If you're struggling with there are a couple of people that I know that are actually going through that support. If you're struggling with academics for whatever reason, we have experiential learning advisors. So their job is to make sure that you as a student, you're doing well in your academics.
Mm.
Once they see that you're struggling anyway, or once you speak up, you just need to speak up. They then match you with those guys, and then those guys work hand in hand with your faculty members to make sure that whatever support you need, if it's extra um, hours with the professors, if it's for you to retake your tests or your exams, whatever it means, whatever kind of support you need, they work hand in hand with the faculty to make sure you get that support. So people who come late will
Oh,
eventually get that kind of support for things that they've missed before they came in.
oh, that's really nice. That's really, really nice. Before we continue, I just want to show that Debbie is also a YouTuber. I'm going to put the link to her channel in the description below. Let's head over to her channel and show her some love, show her some support. She talks about opportunities. So different kind of opportunities, international organizations, scholarships. It talks about all these things on her channel. She has won several of them. And so she's giving back now. She's a Mastercard scholar. So she's giving back through this channel and through other ways, other initiatives that she's also driving as well. Okay, so looking back at the whole journey, the application and everything, what was the hardest part for you?
During the application?
Yes, the scholarship application, applying for the scholarship and then to university and then to visa. And so all that whole application process, what was the hardest part for you?
And when I was applying, I did not have a previous scholar that I was talking to. And then there were no resources as much as they are right now. Nobody on YouTube was talking about Mastercard scholarship. For
Right.
example, didn't know any past scholar, haven't been to Canada before, know nothing about British Columbia. I was just reading, oh, it's beautiful British Columbia. And I was like, what's beautiful about it? Know nothing about Vancouver. I have read, though, that Vancouver was extremely expensive.
Mm,
Uh, Such an expensive city to live in. So I felt like the hardest part was that lack of information of what to expect when I come into BC and
okay.
Vancouver. Wasn't able to speak to anybody that was already here to just see some insight. So I did not have that insight, so to speak, that so many people have now when they're applying for scholarships. And I feel like that's a probably a note to someone listening, that if you don't have any connections for a scholarship, that does not mean that you are not able to get that scholarship, right?
Right.
If you don't have any insider whatnot, it's always good to have an insider information, like somebody who has gone through it that could hold your answer and whatnot. But let's say you're listening and you don't have nobody, you have no idea, you've never been to that city and whatnot. That does not mean you cannot still get the scholarship. All you need to have basically first thing is a willing heart, and a heart that believes you can get it. You need to believe in yourself to start. Like,
Mm,
if you're already doubting yourself that you can get a scholarship, how are you able to then prove to a reviewer? How can you convince a reviewer that you can get that scholarship? And
exactly.
when you hear Mastercard scholarships now, because now it's one of those top scholarships, people already think, oh my God, there are about 9,000 people applying with only 40 being selected in a school, for example. How do I get a chance?
Oh,
Honestly, yeah,
9,000 per school
yeah,
or
last year 9,000 applied to UBC, and I think they brought in about 45.
whoa.
But that
That's
being
that's
said,
0.5%. Because
yeah,
1% is 90. So half of that. So that's 0.5%.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but
That's
that being said, Mastercard has a goal of 100,000 scholarships by 2030.
okay.
They are currently at about, let me be sure of that number. They're currently at about 40,000. So there's still like 60,000 more to go.
Mm,
And there is more than enough space for people who want to take a chance in that, to be part of that 60,000. A good way to increase your chances, this is all about probability, right?
yeah,
One out
exactly.
of 60,000. A good way to increase that probability is make sure you're applying to more than one school, right? So
Mm,
that way, again, make sure it aligns with your experience, your interests. Don't just go and apply for a program out of the blues. That way, you are increasing your chances of being selected to at least one of those schools that you're applying for. It is competitive, yes, and that lack of insight, I felt like, was one of the hurdles that I faced. I just wanted to see somebody in there that can tell me what it looked like, so that when I'm writing my essays, I can write it in that direction. But I did not have someone, so I was just my genuine self, which is what everybody else should do. Tell your true story. Be passionate about it. Make sure you're writing in a very, very clear way, such that whosoever is reading you're literally bringing them into your space. You're playing a video of you for them in a story. So make sure your story aligns well that way and it's easy to read, easy to understand, so that you then give yourself that opportunity to be selected.
And I guess it's also why you are giving back now, because this is the guidance that you didn't have. You didn't have this insider to share these things with you when you were on your journey. And so now you started your channel, and you're sharing how to get these opportunities, or apply by this time, apply by that time. And you dropped a very, very helpful tip here, which I want to just be sure that we all caught. She said, apply to more than one. So your goal should not just be, I'm going to apply for Mastercard Scholars program at UBC, and that's all. I'll just apply to UBC and pray that God will favor me. So your goal shouldn't be just that. You have to apply to several. And I want to show us again the different ones that are available. Now they open at different times of the year. But these are the ones that Mastercard funded this year. Maybe probably next year there might be some new ones that will add and some others that will drop based on the contract that you just shared with us that they actually do. So there's ASU, Arizona State University here in the US, Cambridge as well, McGill University in Canada, UC Berkeley here in the US, UBC in Canada. And then there are some African universities here too. Wherever you're going to, you're fully funded. Edinburgh in the UK, and then Oxford in UK. Pretoria, is Pretoria in Canada or is it in South Africa? I don't know.
South Africa.
Okay, South Africa. Okay, and then University of Toronto. So these are the several programs that Mastercard funds. Plan to apply to more than one. Don't just put all your eggs in just one basket. Okay, you moved over to Canada. It was the first time in Canada. What were the culture shocks that you had?
Vancouver is a very, very rainy city.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's the least when it comes to cold and winter. So winter in Vancouver is like the least harsh compared to other parts of Canada. We don't really experience all the weird, lots of snow, and that's why people prefer to live here, right? And probably that's why it's expensive. But the rain can be annoying in fall. It was raining a whole lot.
Oh,
And the other culture shock for me was that it got dark early. So imagine coming from the tropics, Nigeria, where and there's a way the weather affects your mood, right?
yes.
And you're in a new environment, you're studying, you are even trying to figure out what the program is all about. And then it's like by the time you're waking up during winter, it's still dark. You're going to class, but before class is done, by 4 p.m. it's already dark. And you're like,
Oh, oh,
not
that's
just
early. Okay, that's
dark.
early.
Yeah, it's dark and rainy. What combination, that combo. So yeah, that was a culture shock. The other one was that our professors wanted us to come ask them if we don't know how to do our assignments. That was a
Oh, wow.
huge,
Okay.
yeah.
That's not what we're used to.
My professors I think from the University of Ibadan, they'll be like, go figure it out. Like that's
Right.
your business.
Like your
They
cup of
wanted
tea, I've done my part.
Exactly. The ones here wanted me to speak up in class. If I don't understand whatever they're saying, they want me to bring them back to go over it again. They want me to show up in office hours for questions regarding things that I don't even understand. So basically, I'll go back to them and ask them for the answers to the assignment that they've given me. Like, can you imagine that? I
Whoa.
struggled with that a bit. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. But it's just
To
the
be
level.
true.
I know. But that's just the level of support, right? That they give students just to make sure I'm still a very huge part of my master's program at UBC. I was actually with them yesterday. I know these
Wow.
professors they're just different that way. They're just passionate about what they do that way. They're just more interested in the student success. They want to make sure you get it. They're not after you failing in
Hmm,
quote.
hmm.
I mean, in fact, if the student, I don't know if any student has failed in that department for like years. But if a student is failing, it's a huge whatnot on themselves and their ability to be able to teach that students. So they are providing you all the support. So that for sure, 100% was a cultural shock. I'm like, I'm not used to this. And then you also wanting to call your professors by title. and then
Ah,
say, yeah, no, just
this doctor, this.
yeah, call me by my first name. I mean, I could go on and on with culture shocks. It was a lot. Um,
That first name thing too was a big one for me. Yeah, because I've been so used to titles,
yeah,
but they say, call me by my first name, and they are not comfortable with you calling. Some of them are not comfortable with you calling them doctor this or professor this. Like, wow, okay. Um, so you finished at UBC, got a degree, and now you're working with the government. How did you do that transition? Like, how did it happen?
um, I did not. That's such a good question for people who are also trying to, because at the end of the day, we are studying, but that study is not the end goal, right?
Right.
And I'll answer that question by first addressing maybe a misconception or a mistake that grad students make when they come to study abroad. Most times people are just focused on the study, and that's all they do
Mm.
whenever they're in school.
I want to get a scholarship.
Exactly. I just want to pass, I just want to excel and live with good grades. But you are missing a whole lot and you are shortchanging yourself. That's all you're focused on when you're
Mm.
doing a grad study. You should. They invite me a couple of times to speak to students on career transitioning. And the first thing
Okay.
I tell them is, I know you're busy. I know the coursework is because when you come in, actually, the course that's on that culture chalk. The coursework is nothing compared to what you did in Nigeria. Oh my God, you're doing
It's
four
heavy.
courses, and it's as though you're doing 10 courses. The
Fewer
work,
courses, like just three per semester, but man,
yeah. The workload will almost send you back to your house. You'll be like, no, am I made for this? I actually had a friend in my cohort that said, okay, this is the point when they send me back to my country, it's from my Eastern African country, because I cannot cope and I cannot excel. I don't even know how it's like self-doubting, right? It was like, I
try,
didn't know I got the scholarship. I don't think I'm that smart. And
try.
then thank God for the kind of support that Mastercard gives. So that way he then saw our program director, we linked them up with the experiential learning advisors and then the faculty, and then he eventually finished with good grades. Like
Wow,
it
wow.
was, it was.
Yeah.
So
Thank God
yes,
you didn't give
I
up.
know. So yes, I know the programs are intense. They are, but you should start applying for roles. I call it testing the job market,
Mm.
okay? Because it's a different job market than where you're coming
That's
from,
true.
the whatnot. So, and you should not. And I also used to say that the best time to apply for a job is when you don't need a job.
Mm.
I tell this to people who are even career guys, people already working, right? The best time to apply for a job is when you actually do not need a job, because that way you're able to position yourself well, learn from your mistakes, and then you are able to not just accept any offer because you are desperate. And so the first thing I did was, while I was studying, I started to think about what next? What's the next step for me? I did not want to stay in academia. Not for me. Not passionate about it.
I do
I
want to be a
knew,
professor.
no. I knew I was going to the industry and I knew exactly what I wanted to do, economic policies. So I started testing the waters, right? Applying for jobs, even while in school. My program was very intense, but I found the time I would go for career events, or the ones that Mastercard was doing, and even the ones that UBC themselves were doing. Meet alumni. Every time I meet alumni, I don't have to ask them about, oh, how did you do this program or this course? What did you do? I would ask the professors that. For alumni,
Mm.
I would ask them what the job market looks like. What should I be doing? And I was
Mm.
making sure those people knew what my interests were. Because there are two things. There are your weak ties when you're looking for a job, and there are your strong ties. Your strong ties are the people that know you very, very closely. They're very close to you.
Okay.
You know what you're looking for. Your weak ties are people that you meet casually at this event, people that you meet. And actually, one of the strong points in my story towards getting my job at BC government was a lady that I met in a swimming class. So funny.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that's a
Okay.
weak side, right? People that
Yeah.
you meet in random places, people that you meet in, those people are called your weak ties, and they also could help you landing your dream career. So I was attending those events and making sure people knew exactly what my interests were. So
Mm.
basically, I was publicizing myself that way. such that if they then have any role come to their table, it doesn't have to be something in their company, or it just has to be maybe something somebody sends to them. They remember me. I come to mind, and then they're able to send it to me. And I think the other thing that helped was my co-op experience. My program has a co-op portion of it. So that gave me my first Canadian experience. And then I was able to leverage that experience for every roles that I applied for.
To explain what co-op is for those that are watching that don't understand what it
Co-op
is.
is like internship. I think that's what we call it in Nigeria. We call it
Yeah.
internship here as well. It's like internship where you're still doing your master's program, but then you are going to a company to either do a research or a project work. And when you're doing those experiences, please take them seriously, because what you make out of them would help you. So I did my co-op with an organization that is into environmental sustainability. And we're going to write a report about how waste is managed in the province of BC. So I did the research, wrote that report, did the research, did the analysis, wrote the report, and thankfully that report was published by CBC News.
Wow.
I had
Wow.
something to
Yeah.
show. It was published by CBC News. I did interviews, all the media drama. And it was a report that government actually used. That was my first. So when I was applying for government job, I had that. I didn't have to say so much. I linked it in my resume that I already sent it. So it wasn't that I was lying or anything. There was something to show that I could do the work. It wasn't just me talking about it. I mean, I could have done that research, that internship just on a low level, like, oh, I just need to graduate and whatnot. But I went the extra mile, right? It was what made it eventually get published. So take your internship seriously. If you can get publications from your internships, it doesn't have to be academic publication, because this wasn't an academic publication, right? It was an industry publication that governments in the province used. So that experience was my springboard for my career progression. So I think that was it. And of course, whenever I show up for interviews, I prepare like 100 times before I show up. I used to tell people, an interview that you've not done with your mirror or with somebody else like 4 times, don't bother showing up, because it's like you're wasting your time and the time of the interviewer, right?
Right.
And sometimes we want to believe that, oh, I know the answers in my head. Oh, I'm confident. I know you know the answers in your head. I want you to actually practice it before showing up. There is a hack that I have for interviews that I use personally. When I show up for interviews, I would prepare a PowerPoint slide deck of myself and what I had done in the past. So I show up and they say, hey, can you introduce yourself? I was like, yeah, of course. Do you mind if I share my screen?
Share my screen. Wow. Wow. Never heard this before.
Yeah. This is a personal thing. I do this. I've never seen anyone else do it. And then
This is going the extra mile, man. Wow.
Yes. And then they see me show up with a PowerPoint slide deck of myself, all my past experiences. Of course, I'm linking it with the role and I'm using metrics, and they are blown away. By the time I'm done presenting, they're like, Debbie, so what do you expect me to ask you? Like, you are literally crushed this interview.
Wow.
Like,
You saw them on their feet. Oh,
yeah.
This is nice.
That always works. And then I eventually get the role and I choose if I want it or not. It works for me every time, because that way I've shown them that I am very interested in the role and I am someone who takes extra attention to detail. I will give whatever I'm doing all the energy and strength that it means. Even if it's just a 30 minutes interview or an hour interview, I'll go the extra mile to gather information, documents. And then lastly on my slide, I show how my experiences using graphics, of course, links to their goals and what that role is all about, right? So that way they're able to process and see that, oh my God, she's such a better candidate than this other person that we have interviewed. Oh my gosh, she actually had that skill. So yes, anything that is worth doing at all, that is my goal. My mantra, not goal. My mantra is anything that is worth doing at all is worth doing well. If you're showing up for an interview, give it all. I mean, we're Nigerians and other Africans that are here, right? Africans are not people who just sit around and we just chill for things to fall on our laps. No, we're people who go all out. And that's the same skill that you should bring to your applications. And again, I was not applying for just one role. I was applying for so many, but I made sure they aligned with my interest. I am someone who is particular about doing meaningful work. And I mean, this role was not my first or second role. I had worked in finance, for example.
Okay.
But I wasn't feeling the impact. I love to do a work where I feel like there is a real world transformation or a real world effect on
That's
people.
happening. Based on what
Yeah,
you're doing.
exactly. I want to see what I'm doing changing people's lives.
Mm,
And that was what made me leave finance. Because in finance, you're basically just helping the company achieve their goals, right? You're
mm.
working for that company and you're helping it, which is still a good thing. But I want more than that. I want to be able to actually impact people, have on the ground impact. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. And I show that passion as well in my interviews and in my applications.
So, like, how many roles did you apply for when you were done to get into that finance? Because I guess the finance was the first.
Yes. I mean, I did a couple of applications. And this is not a I would not come here and tell you, oh, you finish up and then your first application you're going to get is nope. You have to again show resilience. That's why you got Mastercard in the first place, right? So you
Right.
have to show resilience in those applications. I mean, you get a couple of breakfasts for your first few applications, but then you learn from them. I did a couple. I can't remember the exact number, but I know it was not
Okay.
my first application or second application that got me the role. I did a couple of them because Canadian companies are always about Canadian experiences, right?
Mm,
And if they've not seen, and the co-op is just 4 months. So if they've not seen that you've probably worked for 2 years, it might be hard to break into the industry. So if you're already in Canada and you're listening to me and you're thinking, oh, they're wanting me to look for Canadian experience, listen up. I have a trick for you. That 4 months internship that you did, make it a big deal, right?
mm.
Um, Show them that even though you did it for just 4 months, you've learned as much skill as somebody who had worked for 2 years. Show them your soft skills. Sometimes people work for years and they've not even honed their soft skills. So you own it, and that would work for you. Would eventually open the door that you're looking for.
Thank you. Well, there's some feedback in the comments of people saying that your volume has reduced, whether you can come closer to your mic. Um, but this has been really insightful. Like, I've learned, you dropped a lot of nuggets, strong ties and weak ties. Even this showing up very well to interviews. I had a friend that he was telling me about his interview experience. He was interviewing for a teaching assistantship position, and the person, he did his interview under a tree outside. So the background that the interviewer was seeing was a tree and outside, and and the whole setting. And so he didn't get the role. So when the person that linked him up with that role went to ask the professor, like, what happened? How come you didn't give? How come, like, what's happened? Like, what went wrong? The guy was like, he wasn't serious. He did his interview under a tree. Like, so this anything we're doing at all is what doing well. It's really, really, really a gold mine. So thank you so much for giving us all these tips. I've seen some of your videos on YPP programs, some with African Development Bank, some with World Bank. Are there some of them that you've won in the past, or like what are the benefits of some of these programs?
I would do a quick run through of YPPs.
Okay.
Personally, like YPPs, young professional programs, are a gold mine for young professionals to just springboard their career. And that's because that way you're not competing. International organizations, when people get it, most times they've had like extensive years of experience. So that way you're not competing with people with extensive years of experience. Is a leadership pipeline for top talent. And what this organization does, I call it a mix of scholarship, salary, and global career, because
Mm,
basically they are employing you to train you, right? And that's where the scholarship comes in. And while doing that, they're paying your salary. And then eventually they are positioning you for leadership roles in those
oh,
organizations. So if you're in your early career, there is always an age limit. And that is why I used to tell people to apply when you still qualify. I mean, you will soon be 35 or whatnot, and you won't be able to apply. So you can as well just apply. The organizations recruit brilliant early career professionals. They rotate them through the different departments. So that way you're an experienced professional, so to speak, because you're working in different departments. and then they're eventually preparing you for leadership roles. There are a couple of them. Actually, the AFDB, Africa Development Bank one, is still open. The World Bank closed a couple of months ago. The UN YPP is already also open, but Nigeria is not part of the member countries for that. I don't know who kicked
Oh,
us out.
wow.
Who kicked us
Wow.
out of UN? That's another
Yeah.
story for another day. But so many other African countries are still members of the UN. So if you think your member countries there, do apply. What are the benefits? Like I said, international job experience. Um, you get rotations. You get competitive salaries and benefits. If you get the one for World Bank, for example, you have like a diplomatic passport. You're able to travel
Mm.
anywhere in the world. They pay your relocation.
Diplomatic passport for the duration of the YPP or as your new passport?
It's attached to the role or the job.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if for
Okay.
any reason, I don't know, you choose to leave,
You have you have the passport that can carry you anywhere.
exactly. And then just that mix of, because you're coming together with a couple of extremely brilliant people
Mm.
from different part of the world, and then it's like Mastercard where they do like trainings, they do mentorship, career coaching. So you have that. It's like you're opening yourself to the way they say the world is your oyster.
Right.
You're opening yourself to all these amazing opportunities. Even if you don't eventually get a permanent role, you're living that 3 years a different person entirely than what you came in as. But most times people even get eventually integrated into like permanent roles in the company. So yeah, just that mentorship with senior experts, coaching, that you get that exposure to international development work. Like I said, I value work that you can translate to impact on people's life. It's a whole lot, and the benefits, health insurance, pension, relocation, they are a lot. And so I had listed a couple
You said
AFDB.
AFDB is open now. I
Yeah.
just want us to touch on that a bit. So this is the website for the African Development Bank, the YPP program. So what's it about? How long is the program? I think I saw from a video that's about 3 years, and you have rotations on it as well. What advice will you give for someone that wants to apply for it
The
to
first
stand out?
the first advice is that it's not a complicated application. People think of YPP and they're like, oh my God, do I have time to apply? This one, you're basically filling in a form with your details. If you have dual citizenship, they ask you to choose one because
Mm,
you have to declare whichever one you eventually be using on the job. Upload your international passport, fill in your work experience, fill in your educational achievement from the highest degree, attach your transcript, attach a CV, and then
mm.
a 500-word motivation letter. And that's why I'm saying it's not a complicated experience. And in that motivation letter, starts with a very, very convincing why. Tell them why you want to apply. Show them that you are passionate about Africa development, because why you're applying for a role in AFDP if you if you're not
You want to
passionate.
develop Africa.
Exactly. Show them that you're passionate in your essays. Then you have to choose two work programs from all the work programs that they have. So go on their website, research their work programs, read their 4 cardinal points, read their mission and whatnot, and link your experiences to that, right? And
Mm.
tie it up with what you can then contribute to your cohort when you get in, because again, they're looking for people who can not just come in and do the work, people who can work within a team, and people who can contribute to that team as well.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a very, very insightful session. So AFDB YPP is currently open. This is not a scholarship to study in a school, but then it's a rotation program, easy to apply. You can take the opportunity and apply for it. When people get it, they travel to where?
Cote d'Ivoire, Abidjan.
Okay,
So you
okay,
have to be willing to relocate to Abidjan as well in Cote d'Ivoire, and you
okay.
will get rotations. I think your first year is the year where you basically use the experience that they discovered you had during the interview process. So your basic experience and skills, use that on the job. Your second year, which is like the second stream, is the year where you are pushed into doing something that you're not comfortable doing. So they probably take you to somewhere that you're not familiar with. But again, they train you, right? And then the
Mm.
last 9 months is where you will work in that department where they would eventually retain you permanently. For AFDB, actually, you have permanent retainment. This is that
Okay.
one that you are sure. Again, with the caveat that you don't have ethics issues, you've not done anything weird, you've not stolen their money. Yeah, so unsuccessful completion with no ethics issue, no drama, no issues, you get a permanent position. And then them giving you that job, they're basically lining you up for a leadership role in the
Okay.
organization. So you spend your last 9 months in that team or with that team that you eventually stay permanently.
All right. Before we'll soon get to a Q&A section where no matter the questions you have, like if you have any questions on this Mastercard or even YPP programs, AFDB, you can drop them in the chat, and then Debbie would generously respond to them for us. So if you have any questions, you can already drop them in the chat. But Debbie, I would like to ask you, we have several international students watching us now. Some people have even said that they are from different countries. I've seen someone that said that he's from the Republic of Guinea. Another person that is watching from Nigeria, from Botswana. So we have people watching from different countries. What advice are you going to give to other international students that are hoping to get a scholarship to study abroad?
One message, okay? No matter where you're starting from, you're not disqualified. Do we understand that? Opportunities like scholarships, fellowships, YPPs, they are not for special people. They are not for, it's not like they've already chosen some certain kind of people that would get them. They are for people who are prepared. So the difference between people who actually eventually get these opportunities and people who don't is the level of preparation. Okay. So if you're willing to learn, if you are willing to stretch yourself, if you are willing to apply, even when you're not sure, these doors will open. I mean, I was extremely surprised that I got the Mastercard Foundation scholarship. Even when the dean called me, I remember, because the dean in my faculty at UBC, what he does, he tries to make it special. He actually gives a phone call. He doesn't send an email because he
Wow.
wants to get the reaction immediately. And, he just wants to see people smile. And then he called me. I was like, I don't believe you. You have to send
And he
me.
called you in Nigeria.
Yeah, I was in Nigeria and he called me directly on my phone. I was
Wow.
serving, right? I was serving. I was on my PPA. I was on my PPA, and then I got the call, and he was like, "I just wanted to let you know that you got the Mastercard Foundation scholarship." I just said, "I don't believe you. Can you send me an email, please?" Because I'd like to be sure. And then he's like, "Okay, Debbie, I will send you an email and call you back." So he sent the email and he called me back. I screamed.
Yeah.
Wow. So nobody gets a scholarship without applying for it, right? Nobody gets YPP without applying for it. So you have to apply. What differentiates you from the people who got it was the level of preparation. Your background is not a barrier. Your story is not a limitation. In fact, all of these opportunities like to award people that actually have gone through something in the past. People who, despite what they have gone through, will still stand up and choose to do something about their life. The difference is your belief and the action. So always remember, you have to believe and you have to take action. Believe that you belong in all these global spaces. You belong in the World Bank. You belong in the AFDB. You belong with the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program. And you would see how much you are able to accomplish.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. A lot of us disqualify ourselves even before even starting. And there's a popular quote that says, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So how do they review an application that was never submitted? So this should be our charge for us to remember to put ourselves out there submit the application, put in your best. Debbie has really shared a lot of tips today, like a lot of nuggets. I'm even going back myself to apply them for other opportunities I'll be applying for. So thank you so much, Debbie. Do we have any questions in the chat? Does anybody have any question to ask Debbie? I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. So maybe we're all clear. But Debbie, where can people find you?
Oh, LinkedIn. Debbie Oyebanji on LinkedIn. YouTube. I think you already posted the link to my YouTube channel. It's also Debbie Oyebanji. I am on TikTok as Debbie Self Growth. I am on Instagram as Debbie Oyebanji. On Facebook as Debbie Oyebanji. So basically, my name on these different platforms.
All right. Let me show her YouTube. So this is her YouTube channel. Subscribe. There are some wonderful nuggets that she even has here. She shares a document that has like scholarships and when they are opened and all of that. So let's check out her channel and support her as well. Then this is her LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to her. If you have any questions, Debbie is here to support us. Yes, in our journey and our goals as well. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Debbie. This was wonderful. It was a very, very wonderful session. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. And then we'll see you next week.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, everybody, for joining in.
All right.